Hi, this is Steve with Coin Stuff I Like, and this is going to be one of my favorite topics is Eisenhower dollars. Of course, I like all the big dollars and have everything from the seated Liberty trade dollars, Morgan's peace dollars, and the Ike dollars. But this is a interesting topic. I mean, the Eisenhower dollar series has a lot of fantastic stories, and it's sort of a incredible period because the mint had not produced a large silver dollar since 1935. So basically, when they started thinking about it and got around to designing and so forth in 1970, you're talking about a good 35 years since the mint had any experience in producing large dollars. Furthermore, the previous large dollars were struck in 90% silver, and it's a lot softer metal than when they decided to go to 40% silver, which is a somewhat soft metal. But when they went to copper nickel as part of the production, it was much harder planchets and much more difficult process. So there are all kinds of you know pivots in this early part of the production of Eisenhower dollars. One of these pivots is the Friendly Eagle variety, one of my favorite. I think it's one of the more collectible of the Ike dollars, and it's a interesting topic, and let's get into it. The Eisenhower dollar Friendly Eagle variety is made only in 1971 and only at the Denver Mint. So only 1971 D Ike's business strike are can be possibly a Friendly Eagle variety. The problem is we don't know the mintage. Not exactly. Sort of have some rough ideas, and we'll get to that later. But we don't know the mintage of Friendly Eagle varieties. Basically the mint back then just mixed in the Friendly Eagle variety with the standard RDV 001, the standard reverse, mixed them and lumped them all into one huge mintage number, which was 68,587,424, 1971 D business strike Ikes produced. Within that number is X number of Friendly Eagle varieties. So as I get into this presentation, I want to provide you with some resources, and really there's not a lot of them, but let me give you some of the ones that I prefer, the ones I think will help you out the most. So of course you can do a Google search and you'll come up with a few things. One will point you towards the Ike group, which I'm going to show you in just a second. I do think there's some good information there, and then there's others, but it dwindles down pretty rapidly. And if you actually get into these, there's not a lot of information. There's information, but not a lot of information. So you need to dig a little deeper and have the right resources. So let's get to it. And one is that Ike Group homepage site, and I'm going to point you in two spots. One right here, under varieties, you scroll down, and then there's this article on the Friendly Eagle. We're going to come back to this one, but this is a good article. And then over here, the Diva attribution. These are various varieties, designated Ike varieties. That's what Diva stands for. And you can scroll to 1971, 1971D, and it'll have a bunch of 1971Ds. The Ike group uses the prefix of 1D1 to designate the FEV, the friendly eagle variety, and the 1D2 as a more standard reverse with more plentiful production numbers. That is an aside. We'll come back to that as well. But the Ike Group site, as I said, is a really good one to dig deeper into your discovery of friendly eagle varieties and sub-varieties. The next site is Variety Vista, and if you go to Variety Vista Home, you'll scroll down to Eisenhower dollars, and it'll have a bunch of references. RPMs, the double die versus double die reverses that are listed. The design varieties, which is a good place to get started in terms of understanding the different design varieties. And of course, the friendly eagle being this RDV 006. Wexler is another site worth using for Ikes, particularly to look at either the double die listings. If you go there, scroll down, you'll see the Eisenhower double die listings from Wexler, and the same thing with RPMs. You scroll down, get to the Eisenhower RPMs. So those are some website references, and of course there are forums. You can go to Kanika website, which I don't have here, but the iGroup forum is a good place. Look at their old posts. You can ask questions, usually in this particular category, but if you scroll down, you'll see they have friendly eagle variety. If you click on that, there's a number of past threads that are interesting to read. You can learn a lot there. The next is book resources, and I'll mention this one here is a really good one for understanding the friendly eagle variety, and fortunately you can still find it. It was put out in 2011 by the Ike Group. Robert Easerman is the primary author, but there's a lot of other associated authors from the Ike Group. It's a great book, not just for friendly eagle, but all the different varieties and some interesting stories and backstories on Ike production. So that's a must-have if you're an Ike collector. Tom Clance's book, IDD Eisenhower Double Die Top 25 in RPMs. This is a nice book to have. It's I wish his old website was still available. Tom passed, and his website got taken off from being active, and he had every listing possible for Ike dollars. As far as RPMs, as far as friendly eagle varieties, this has a couple of good RPM listings for the friendly eagle. So it's a good book to have. There's a couple older books. Wexler's book, authoritative reference, but this is in 2007, and this is before Wexler was aware of the friendly eagle. And then there's also Weil's book, this Kanika Attribution Guide to Eisenhower Dollars. It's a good book. Both of those are good books to have for historical purposes. But again, this was in 1997. This book was put out, and this is before Weil's even recognized the friendly eagle variety. So there's some references. Again, the ones that I would use as my primary, if I were you and you're learning friendly eagle variety, would be the Ike Group homepage and the book from the Ike Group. I will put these references down in the description area of this particular video, so you could you click on the links and get to these various references. So as I said, I'll pop those links in the video description below. Uh, Next thing I want to do is go over identifying the friendly eagle variety. Of course, first of all, you want to have a 1971D Eisenhower dollar, but then you flip it over to look at the reverse to identify it. Here's the link. Let's go to that source. So I'll use this resource because it has good photographs to go over the friendly eagle pickup points. And as I said, 71D, flip it over, look at the reverse. And you can look at this. I mean, I could cherry pick these things off of eBay pictures, and also keep in mind, back in the day before they recognized friendly eagle variety, they encapsulated 1971Ds with just the 1971D label on it. And sometimes you can look at the reverse, the images of a reverse on a plain Jane 1971D, and find that it's actually a friendly eagle variety, and they do carry a greater premium than a standard 71D grade for grade. So let's look at some of these. First of all, you look at the Earth, and the Earth is a more rounded Earth. One thing that I always look for is the Gulf of Mexico. See how it's more rounded here, where there's a projection here where Texas and Louisiana is in the Gulf of Mexico. So there's actually downward projection into Gulf of Mexico, where this is more rounded here. The other thing is that in a common 71D, there's 3 islands, where in an FEV there's a chain of about 3 islands, but they're really close. So it looks like just a solid line of islands with one below. But in both cases, they're lying at the tip of Florida or to the east of that in both cases. But the difference is 3 distinct islands versus 3 on top and 1 below, 4 islands, and this chain effect right here. You can read here, Florida's pointing more to the south. That's a minor distinction. To me, the big ones are the shape of the islands and the roundness of the Gulf of Mexico, and then there's more of the Earth. The Earth is more round. This is a common one in the friendly eagle. There is no incus furrowed brow, where in the standard plain Jane 1971D there's a furrowed brow here. There's an incus line here that gives it a more fierce appearance than the friendly eagle without that furrowed brow. So sometimes you can pick that up in pictures depending on the quality of the picture, but you can certainly pick it up in hand, either naked eye or with loops. There are distinctions in chest feathers. I don't bother with those because these others are so identifiable. The islands, the furrowed brow versus no furrowed brow in the eagle. There's also differences in the tail feathers. Now, this might be one of those ones where if you look at between this tail feather and this tail feather, there's more distinct lines in here that were added by Gasparo versus the friendly eagle. It's not one that I commonly look for, but some people use that and can pick it up pretty easily. Here's another one, is looking at the crater flow lines, debris flow lines. It's a little bit different here, but if you look at that second crater, notice that looking at the second L in dollar, none of these diflow lines approach the top of that E. They come close, they're working towards the L, but don't work past it. But if you look at this one, the diflow lines are actually falling all the way to the upper right-hand side of that second L. And that's one that you can pick up in pictures. And it certainly, if I'm holding it in hand and I have a loop, again, it's this, the shape of the Gulf of Mexico, shape of the Earth, the shape of the islands, the lack of the incus brow line, and these particular crater debris flow lines on being much longer on the FEV. Another thing the FEV has is this thing that Gasparo added. It looks like a reentry vehicle and contrail of that. And you might want to read this in this particular article, but in earlier die state friendly eagle varieties, this is always there at the sort of northwest side of the Earth, above the Pacific Northwest area of North America. In very late die states, it's sort of obliterated, but in early die states, it's there, and it's pretty nice to see. So there are a number of pretty easy pickups. And if you look back here, let me magnify that, and we'll look at round Earth. You can pick up a little bit of the contrail here in this particular image. There's right up there that the reentry vehicle, or REV. Round Earth, solid block of islands here, string of islands, 4 islands. Lack of furrow, lack of tail feather separation. Again, this is an easy one right here. When you look at that, the debris flow lines from this particular crater flowing all the way down to and even past the top of the second L in dollar. So with it, a lot of these are naked eye, but with a loop you can certainly get it, and enough of them are readily available that you might be able to cherry pick from photos on eBay or other auction sites. So there's their identification of the friendly eagle. So check that article out. Here's the link. This link will be down in the description of this video. Review that, check the images out, and you'll be able to easily identify a friendly eagle variety, which again is only found in 1971 Denver coins. I mentioned at the top of the video that the Eisenhower dollars has a very interesting set of backstories, and this one in particular is a pretty interesting one. So let's I'm going to start off with what we know, no conjecture. So the friendly eagle variety, although it was produced in 1971, was not really officially recognized, and it was first recognized by Dr. Wiles in 1999 and assigned reverse dye variety RDV 006. It was actually the first of the various dye varieties. It was the first that was put into production in 1971. It was put in production before the RDV 001, but because this was discovered in identified and assigned a RDV number in 1999, well after the other ones were identified, it carries the 006. But it was actually the first one. being used in 1971. It was first called the Friendly Eagle pattern by the Ike Group in 2006, but in the subsequent couple of years, they backed off of pattern and used the term Friendly Eagle variety, and that's what has stuck. So it's called the Friendly Eagle variety. In the Ike Group's designated Ike variety, that's Diva catalog, it's cataloged as 1D1 -101 basic Friendly Eagle variety. 1D1 indicating 1971 D, and it was the first of the varieties used in 1971 at the Denver Mint. 1D1 as the prefix. So Wiles identified it and assigned it RDV in 1999. It got a little bit more identification, play, publicity in the 2006 to 2008 period. And finally, it was listed in Cherry Picker's Guide as FS 901 in the 5th edition, Volume 2, in 2012. And Red Book followed in 2013, listing it as a 1971D copper nickel clad variety 1. And you saw a clip of the Red Book in the first slide. So it took until about 2012, 2013 for it to make in Cherry Picker's Guide and the Red Book, which in turn delayed having PCGS and NGC attributing Friendly Eagle varieties until just after that, or right around that time. So it appeared in these books, and then they started picking up and attributing it. So that's the sort of the known part. Let's go into some of the parts that are not as well known, but we have some evidence from interviews of Denver Mint worker and mint records and so forth that we can put some puzzle pieces together and come up with maybe a little conjecture, but maybe what really happened. So Gasparo originally designed an eagle reverse landing on the moon that was sort of borrowing from Michael Collins' Apollo 11 patch. And the eagle that Gasparo designed was sort of a fierce-looking eagle, and the Mint folks told Gasparo that it looks too fierce, and we need something more friendly because of the political climate at the time and the international climate at the time. So you have to modify this and make the eagle look more friendly. So he did. He made some friendly looking eagle dies. One set were high relief, which was used for the 1971 S proof, silver proof, high relief. Again, softer metal, so you can strike up that proof on that softer metal. And a lower relief friendly eagle die that was going to be used for striking copper nickel planchets. Eventually, Gasparo came back to fierce-looking eagle dies when he modified and put the furrowed brow and changed a few other things. But the friendly eagle arose from pressure from the Mint to create a friendly eagle, which he did for the high relief dies, but then also did this for the low relief dies. So the friendly eagle low relief reverse was intended to be used for all low relief Ikes in 1971. At least that's the conjecture, including what was planned to be a copper nickel clad proof to be struck in San Francisco. Because of time constraints and so forth, and trouble striking up copper nickel clad planchets, that part was abandoned in San Francisco. And apparently they had about several million clad proof planchets that were delivered to San Francisco, and they weren't used because they scrapped this low relief clad proof friendly eagle reverse San Francisco coin. And so what was customary back in those days is they would ship planchets from San Francisco to Denver for use there. That's how there's a couple of wrong planchet, silver planchet Ikes from various years. They think originated with the silver planchets being shipped by accident to the Denver Mint. But in this case, in 71, these clad-proof planchets were shipped to Denver, and I imagine the dies were also there in Denver in 1971. So, and you can identify, there's a number of friendly eagle varieties that appear to be struck on clad-proof planchets. Of course, the dies weren't polished, but the proof planchets were used, and you could identify those. At least some people feel you can. So, so the with these friendly eagle dies and the copper nickel planchets, whether they're proof or not, production started in Denver. And it started in Denver for the business strike Ikes before Philadelphia. Philadelphia may have done some trials and figured out this wasn't going to work and started working on designing the new revised low relief reverse. But Denver had the dies and they got to work. So, and perhaps as early as February, but certainly no later than July. They're already striking up coins with friendly eagle reverse dies. And in all likelihood, they're using the old single chamber die presses that they had in the basement of the Denver Mint. And they did this for about 2 to 3 weeks. The rationale for the old single chamber die presses is that they had them, and friendly eagle varieties had very few, if any. I've never seen one a clash. There weren't clashes of friendly eagle variety coins or dies. The twin chamber die presses that were being set up for the subsequent redesign of the low relief reverse proof, those had common problems with clashes. And if you look at the regular plain Jane 71Ds, they have lots of clashes. The FEVs don't have clashes, but the FEVs have a lot of die cracks. And you'll find a few small rim cuds and so forth, but a lot of die cracks. And the interview with the mint worker was that there was a lot of dies that were exploding in these early days. So probably due to die failures, the FEV was abandoned, and of course the redesign and use of the other low relief reverse with the furrowed brow was instituted. So only about 2 to 3 weeks of production with these dies. There's some evidence to suggest that there's possibly 68 FEV dies that originally prepared. I'm not sure how many of those made it to the Denver Mint. The other thing we know is and this is from Mint records, that the average reverse die for in 1971 that struck up dollar pieces. The average die life is about 120,000 pieces. Now, we know the FEV being struck in Denver had a lot of die cracks, and probably it's questionable whether their average was 120,000, perhaps it was less. So fewer than 68 dies, fewer than 100, probably fewer than 100,000 pieces produced per die. So there are a number of prominent Ike collectors and Ike experts that have looked at the appearance of FEVs versus regular plain Jane 71Ds and looked at the frequency. James Sago estimates about 1 in 32 71D Ikes was an FEV. That would put the production or mintage at about 21 or 2 million FEVs. Robert Eisenhower, who's the Ike group and wrote the book, estimated somewhere between 1 to 50 to 1 to 200 71D Ikes was an FEV based on various surveys of large numbers of 71D Ikes. That would put the mintage at somewhere between 343,000 to 1.37 million. Eiserman subsequently wrote and has written in a couple articles in the book that about 500,000 FEVs are minted. I think there's probably a little bit more than that, but I don't think it's as high as what James Sago estimates. I would put it based on the die studies that I've done myself, probably less than 1 million and more than 500,000. Let's just say 750,000 FEVs is the mintage, just approximately. Now, of these, somewhere between 343,000 to 2 million FEVs that might have been minted, only about 1,599 are accounted for in population reports of PCGS, NGC, and ANOX. And you should note that that's just tabulating from the population report. Because of crossovers, the number is probably less than that. So the number that have been graded is less than 1,600 of the FEVs, of the, we'll say somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million FEVs have been graded. So let's talk about third-party grading and FEVs. The Friendly Eagle variety was first attributed, graded, and slapped by Annex and ICG. And they did that likely prior to the summer of 2008. Likely prior to that, or around that time. But if you remember, the Red Book and the Cherry Picker's Guide did not list the FEV until 2012, 2013. So PCGS and NGC did not start attributing FEVs and putting that label on their holder until at least sometime between 2013 and 2015. So let's take a brief look at the the grading companies look at the Friendly Eagle variety. So, as I said, a total of less than 1,600 Friendly Eagles attributed by the three major grading companies. And we'll also talk about CAC a little bit too, CAC. So PCGS, you would click on the major category, that 68 million 71Ds, and then there's a friendly eagle. Now, friendly eagles, there are none graded 67 or higher. There's 66 of them graded 66, and 3 that are graded 66 plus. And then you can see that there's a fair number of 64s and 65s, and it goes down from there. Probably because folks aren't sending in, the ones aren't going to have a chance of getting a 65 or 66. A 60, let's see what the record is. Okay, so the auction record is $10,000 for a 66 plus, a PCGS 66 plus. That was in April of 2021 on eBay. I'll let you look up the price guide. $550 for a 66, $240 for a 65 plus, $190 for a 65. And a 64 plus is about $57. 64 is about $55. That's the price guide. Whether you're going to get that or not is a whole nother matter. But you're getting close to the break-even point for sending in an FEV with grading costs and so forth, and shipping, et cetera, et cetera. So you really like to have a 64 or higher if you're going to send it in. Something that's going to grade here, and you'll recoup your grading fees and so forth. But again, 694 total graded by PCGS, and the top pop is 66 plus. NGC, you come over here, and they've got 367 friendly eagle varieties graded in total, and their top pop is 67. And my experience with NGC is it's a little bit easier in terms of its grading practices versus PCGS and Annex, but that's my own personal experience. But nevertheless, there are 5 67s graded, 29 66s, and then you can see a large number of 65s, and then it starts going down from there. And that's the NGC. Annex, remember, they started doing these or attributing these not long after, sometime prior to 2008. All right, well before PCGS and NGC got into the attribution of these FEVs. And you can see they have 471 that they graded. Their highest pop is 66, 1866s, MS66s. But they also have their pop reports are pretty detailed. They've got a FEV that is a W diadverse 002. They've got just a plain double diadverse. They've got double diverse 001. They got the peg leg FEV. And so you add these all up, and you add the NGC numbers and PCGS, and you get less than 1,600. Now, what about CAC? Well, here's the problem with CAC. CAC, the sticker company CAC, never differentiated the friendly eagle. They would sticker a 71D, and they would put them in their population of stickers. So there's There's 118 66s, 15 67s, but who knows of those 15 how many of those 5 NGC 67s are in that population. Of those 118, how many of them are the either NGC or PCGS 66s. I know I have 3 MS66 with cap green stickers on them, but they have nothing here in terms of a population report. I imagine CAC Grading Company is going to differentiate and attribute these. I imagine that, but the sticker company never differentiated. So I have 3 66 MS66 FEVs. I have no idea whether those are top pop for CAC or not. So there's the problem with the CAC pop report. So there you have it for what's you see on the grading scene. CAC 66s bring in maybe $750. The record for a PCGS 66 plus is $10,000, and there's only less than 1,600 of these that have been graded over the years. The last thing I want to leave you with is that besides the backstory and this interesting variety, there's sub-varieties of friendly eagles. There are double dyes, and they're listed in Variety Vista, they're listed in Wexler's group, they're listed in the Ike group Diva page. I'm not going to go into those in this video, but I will have another video where I go into those, the sub-varieties and the Divas, the designated Ike varieties. But they have double dyes. There's actually 5 double dye adverse families and 2 to 3 double dye reverse families in the FEV series. There's RPMs. I know that Wexler lists at least 2, and I have 4 different RPMs that are friendly eagle variety RPMs. There's 1 peg leg friendly eagle variety, and there are a number of named die crack varieties because of the position and alignment and so forth. So we'll go into that on another day, but it just adds to the mystique of the friendly eagle variety. Again, incredible backstory. These are the first business strike Ikes to be produced in the whole series, and some really interesting sub-varieties. So hopefully this video has been helpful in helping you learn a little bit more about friendly eagle variety, learn how to identify it, and hopefully it's piqued your interest in looking for them for yourselves. Thank you for watching. If you have comments or questions, put it in the comment section below. And remember, when you're buying coins, always buy smart, but buy stuff you like. Bye-bye.